Alrighty, y'all. The last play-in preview game before we get into the actual playoffs. Let's dive into it. So the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls, two teams that have been absolutely decimated by injuries at this point in the season. We just learned today that Jimmy Butler's not playing, which is just tragic. It's just so unfortunate. We all love watching Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, and the Miami Heat just showing everybody up despite them being a lower seed and generally less talented than everybody else. But it's tough when Jimmy goes down, man. I don't know how much fight this team can actually put up at this point without a guy like him, but it's going to be tough. And obviously the Bulls have their injuries as well, with Zach LaVine being out. Patrick Williams is out. Lonzo Ball hasn't played in a while, but he's counting for a lot of money on this team, so we throw him in anyway. With Alex Caruso also being out, you'll see I've adjusted the lineups to kind of reflect that. Caruso was playing the 3. I'm going to assume they bump Torrey Craig up to the 4, but I guess we'll see. Should be noted as well that we're not sure what's going on with Terry Rozier at this point. We're going to assume that he still has the neck injury or whatever. I'm throwing him in here because there's no status on him yet, and they're treating it like it's day to day and game to game oriented. So we're just going to talk as if Terry Rozier is going to be back and he's going to have to get back into game shape for this game. But yeah, let's talk about matchups and everything first. Vucevic, not a great defender at all, especially in pick and roll situations, but Bam doesn't really get into many of those. Like, he's more of a hub type guy, which I feel like is actually advantageous to a guy like Vucevic. Like, he doesn't have to maybe move around and guard guys and keep guys parallel with him when he's trying to play some sort of drop coverage on somebody. And if Miami doesn't have like a legit point guard that they're really throwing into this game, whether Terry Rozier is playing or not, right? Like, that's the big difference there. Like, he can just kind of drop back because Tyler Hero doesn't really like to operate out of the mid-range too much. They're not too worried about DeLon Wright doing that or Patty Mills. They're kind of 3D type dudes. DeLon Wright's just not much of a shooter in general, but it might make Vucevic's job just a little bit easier to attack. Whether or not he can get the same rim rolling efforts that he was getting against Atlanta, probably not the case because Atlanta's just a pretty poor defensive team. So I'm going to assume that Bam's going to do much better at keeping Vucevic out of this game. Otherwise, we get into some really interesting matchups like 1 through 4 because both of these teams play a little bit smaller just in general. So like a Torrey Craig, Caleb Martin matchup is pretty standard. I'm going to assume Jaime Jaquez gets thrown into this mix. That's just kind of what I'm guessing for now. Spo gave him a lot of minutes, which I was not expecting, and credit to him. Jaquez had a pretty solid game there. I think there were some times where he really looked like a rookie in kind of his first playoff atmosphere, but otherwise, like, not too bad. But who's going to guard DeRozan? I'm going to guess they try to put Martin on him, but I don't think anybody really stands a chance against DeRozan most nights at this point anyway. Like, he's just going to get his shots up and they're going to go in, and that just might be something that the Heat have to live with. Because they're not going to take Bam off of like Vucevic or anything and try to put him on DeMar, which is probably the only chance they have at slowing him down. So I just don't know what the Heat really have to throw at him. Maybe they start Haywood Highsmith for that reason alone, just to kind of have them match up like this. Maybe that's the answer, right? Maybe they have to put Highsmith in just to try to bother DeRozan as much as possible. And then if you start a Haywood Highsmith, the Bulls then have the opportunity to kind of just sag off of somebody, right? It's not like Haywood Highsmith can't hit a shot, but it's not a guy that you're going to worry about too much going into this game. He's typically just a transition bucket, like cut to the hoop, get a backdoor or something like that. That's how he gets his points. It's not really anything he's creating or shooting. So that gives someone on the Bulls the ability to play some help defense, and that's probably going to be a DeRozan more so you can conserve energy and let him play more on offense. Io DeSumo on Tyler Hero is a pretty good matchup. That's going to be a good one. DeSumo's a really good perimeter defender. Tyler Hero, if Terry Rozier's not playing, is going to have to take over a lot of the ball handling duties, and I think DeSumo can really disrupt him there. Then as far as Tyler Hero guarding DeSumo, it's hard to say. DeSumo's not doing a ton creatively. He's just finding windows like space-wise to go get his three-point shot off and getting shots off in transition. So it's just going to be how much is Tyler Hero really paying attention. And then what answer do the Miami Heat have for Kobe White? Are they going to go back to their zone that they like to go to sometimes? Because maybe that just gives the Bulls more opportunities to shoot threes, which they're not like bad at. They're not great at either. I mean, they were hitting the other night, which was awesome, right? But like, can you replicate that? Maybe that's a chance that the Heat take. But if they're going into man, like Kobe White, with how he was playing last night, you know, even against a good defender in DeJounte, who I know didn't have a good defensive season, still a good defensive player and was giving a hell of an effort on Kobe last night. Like, Kobe was getting to the rack with ease, and he's going to go up against, without a doubt, a smaller defender than he saw in Atlanta. Like, whether it's DeLon DeLon Wright, who I know is a solid defender, but still a lot smaller, a lot less quick than a DeJounte Murray. Terry Rozier, he's going to be able to be really physical with. A Patty Mills, he's going to be able to be really physical with and get by. So Kobe White, like, is going to have the opportunity to do exactly what he did again. And then vice versa, like Terry Rozier, with nobody else really creating for him, like, it's going to have to be run things through Bam and let Terry Rozier get some openings. That's going to be the best way you can play some team basketball with him. But again, is Terry Rozier going to even play in this game? Is he going to come back and be in game shape? To just hop right into a play-in situation is not easy. So I don't know. I don't see Terry Rozier being able to come in and make a huge difference in this game, especially because Kobe White, again, if he keeps that mindset of like, okay, I can control the pace of this game myself, and I can hit somebody with that jab move, get into the middle of the paint, slow down a little bit, evaluate my options, and then attack again because I'm big and strong and I can get to the hoop. And if you got some spacers around him, then it's just great. Looking at the benches, then we'll assume it's this. It's some combination of probably Jaquez or Highsmith, right? Like Jaquez is going to be really aggressive again, is going to be my presumption. So I wouldn't be surprised if like a Javonte Green gets put on him and he just really pesters him. And because Jaquez isn't like an elite ball handler, he's just got good footwork, and that could be something where Javonte Green kind of takes advantage of that there. On the opposite end, that just means Jaquez has to play help defense and watch for Javonte Green cutting to the hoop. So decently easy defensive assignment for him. DeLon Wright is pretty much just out there to play defense, especially in the zone. The Bulls kind of just are swapping point guards between Dosunmu, Kobe White. Maybe Javon Carter gets some minutes with Caruso out. Hard to say. Maybe they go that deep in the bench. Billy Donovan doesn't seem too interested in that. He'd rather play guys like DeRozan, Kobe, and Dosunmu as many minutes as possible. Maybe you'll even see Dalen Terry kind of take over a little bit of ball handling responsibilities because he is a pretty good like ball handler and passer. So maybe something that you see out there. But then otherwise, Kevin Love just going to be out there being physical, doing what Kevin Love does, doing a little bit of pick and pop here and there, which means Drummond will have to like come out of the paint at points. So I'm sure that's something Miami's going to go to, and that's going to be a tough thing for Drummond to guard, because if you have like this is the thing, right? Like the Heat without like Butler and Rozier possibly, it's just tough for them to get going towards the rack. Like Hero's been doing a good job of it, at least when he's going to his right. But does this mean Drummond can just kind of hang back for the most part? Like, can they just kind of switch some of these things? I don't know. It's going to be complicated for Miami to get any like real offense going because they're just lacking so many creators at this point. But Kevin Love pulling Drummond out is going to be a big one. And then is Kevin Love going to be strong enough to compete with Drummond? Probably not, but they're both physical dudes. They've played against each other for a long time. If anybody could give Drummond a run for his money, it probably is a guy like Kevin Love or something where he can just be super physical with them. He's a smart rebounder, and that's how you beat somebody that's just that physically dominant like Drummond. But they're going to have to keep the Bulls off the offensive glass because Drummond got a lot of them in that game last time. Let's take a look at the matchups from them this year. It looks like Miami won the most recent one, and then the Bulls. Okay, so they split the season series. Who was playing well for them? Looks like Kobe White was playing pretty well in all of them. DeRozan was present in all of them. Jimmy Butler was present in all of them. Jaime Jaquez had a decent one. I'm actually surprised that Bam didn't have like bigger games against him. Maybe they were, and he just didn't score as much. He just had one big game, it looks like. But I feel like this is an opportunity where, and again, Spo, one of the smartest coaches out there, not going to critique anything he does because it probably makes somewhat of sense no matter what he's doing. I would turn Bam away from being a hub right now and make him more of a moving threat just because Vucevic is like that poor of a defender. That's just what I'm thinking. At least I know the Heat don't like to run that way. They like to run all their handoffs and everything like that. But especially if you don't have guys like Duncan Robinson in the game right now anyway, I'm like, let's just make Bam as much of a threat as we can because the Bulls just don't really have a great option for guarding him. Otherwise, these are play-in teams. They're pretty evenly matched statistically. Like, there's not a whole giant difference here. I mean, there's only one spot between these like two teams in the seedings anyway, right? So not the biggest deal in the world. But I really think this is going to come down to the Heat might just be down too many creators at this point. I mean, even in the last game, Jimmy Butler just caused so many problems even defensively, right? That's why he's so great. He's such a two-way player. And I feel like just missing him that might be it. Before the Jimmy Butler injury, I would have said, oh yeah, Miami Heat smoking the Bulls and everything. But with how Kobe White played last night and how diminished the Heat are at this point, I actually think I'm going to take the Bulls in this one, which for me as a Bulls fan, I'm like, how did we get to this point, man, where this is how I feel about it? But you know what? Last night was my favorite Bulls game that I've watched probably all season. It was great to see Kobe White playing like a true NBA point guard and just being dominant. It was awesome. I'm not saying he's going to do that again, but the opportunity is going to be there. I'm sure Spoelstra's going to throw something at him, but it's going to be cool to see nonetheless. And that's going to be my prediction for now. I think the Bulls take them in this one. I think it's a low-scoring game. I'd say that's what it's going to be because the Heat are going to have a good defensive plan and the Heat are just missing offensive players. So it's kind of all on the Heat on this one, right? Just because. But no, that's what I'm thinking for this. Bulls will then go on to play the Celtics. If not, then, well, the Bulls season's over and we'll see what happens with this team because they have a lot of questions to answer with what they're doing going forward. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, you guys. Make sure you subscribe, like, do all those things. I think what we're going to do for the rest of the playoffs, because, like, I don't know if I should do like a series preview for like each game, or should I be doing like recaps of each game? I don't know, because that's a lot of videos. Like, I guess it can be just something I have to grind out for like the early parts of the playoffs, and then obviously it'll slow down, and maybe I do more game-to-game coverage or something at the end. I don't know. You guys tell me what you would like to see. I only have so many hours in the day, but I'll try my best to get y'all whatever you want. But anyways, thanks so much as always, y'all, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.